So ratios you've probably heard of before in algebra, but when we talk about a ratio, it's simply just comparing things using division. Essentially, we'll write this thing as a fraction, or sometimes we'll use kind of this colon notation where we'll say something like 1 to 2 as a fraction, or we could say something like 1 to 2 in this kind of format, or sometimes we'll write in words. We'll say 1 to a 2. All right, and so it's just comparing the things in terms of the operation. It's a division operation. All right. For example, if I look at something like this, it says the Washington Monument is 555 feet tall. A replica of the monument is 18 inches tall. What is the ratio of the replica to the full-size monument? And notice the wording there in terms of it wants the replica to the full-size monument. So I want to write the dimensions of the replica first. So I would say 18 compared to 555. And it's important to include the units here, especially when they're different. This is actually a special ratio that we typically call a rate. And we'll use this a lot of times in terms of scale factors and comparing, similar types of figures. The other thing we want to do here is we want to reduce this fraction. So each of these is divisible by 3. So I'm going to reduce this. And so I'm going to write this as a 6 over 185. And again, that's 6 inches to 185 feet. Okay. The other way we might see this written, of course, is if we kind of did the other notation. The other notation we might typically do is this one. And just like when I did the fraction, I still have to reduce this just like I would a fraction. So even what's in this notation, I still have to reduce it. I have to rewrite it as 6 inches compared to the 185 feet. Okay. And for something like this guy, this is probably more typical of what I would see as this kind of second notation for this one when we're comparing, something like a replica to an actual thing in terms of inches and feet. All right, but that's a ratio. It's just comparing these things with division. Sometimes we just write it in a little bit of a different manner. Okay. If we look at something like this guy, a fundraiser is selling milk chocolate and dark chocolate candy bars. The ratio of dark chocolate to milk chocolate should be 3 to 5. Write as many ratios as possible based on this. So the first ratio is kind of given to us. It's 3 to 5. And again, if you want to write it this way, it would be 3 milk chocolate to 3 dark chocolate. We have less of those to 5 milk chocolate. Okay, that would be one of the ratios that we had. We could also write the ratio the other way. Keep in mind, we could have this written as a fraction as well. We could also write that the other way. We could say, hey, 5 milk chocolate to 3 dark chocolate. We could write it the other way and kind of flip this fraction. That's the other thing that we can do. And really, it kind of depends on the situation, which of these we might use. And now here's the kind of the tricky ones. As soon as I have these things, if these are all the chocolates that I'm talking about, either the milk chocolate and the dark chocolate, so I have that ratio between milk chocolates and dark chocolates, but there's also another ratio that's given, and that's, how the milk chocolates compares to the total number of chocolates, or how the dark chocolates compared to the total number of chocolates. And so as I look at this, here's another ratio I have. It's 3 dark chocolate. Well, we can compare that. If you kind of think about the total, if there's 3 milk chocolate or 3 dark chocolates and 5 milk chocolates, that's a total of 8 chocolates. So we would say 8 total. Okay? And so we automatically have these ratios that compare to the total as well. And once again, I could write that as a fraction. I could flip that thing around and say 8t compared to 3d instead. So 8 total compared to 3 dark chocolates. And then I can, of course, do the same thing with the milk chocolates. I could compare those to the total as well. So I could say, hey, for every 5, there's 5 milk chocolates for every 8 total chocolate bars. Okay. And once again, I could write this as in a bunch of different ways. And then, of course, I can flip that thing. I could say, hey, for every 8 total, there's 5 milk chocolate candy bars. Okay, so those are the different ratios I can write. And really, that's a lot more than we probably expected when we first looked at this thing, okay? But anytime we have a comparison like that, I can always come up with more ratios in terms of the totals or in terms of the individual things, okay?